It began with explosions tearing through the silence of Tehran's night. Flashes lit up the skyline, sirens screamed, and within minutes the world realized something unthinkable had just happened. Israel had struck deep inside Iran. For years, the shadow war stayed hidden in cyber attacks, assassinations, and proxy battles. But tonight it stepped into the open. Missiles, drones, and precision strikes reportedly hit sensitive targets. While Iran vowed retaliation that could ignite the entire Middle East. So what exactly happened that night? Why did Israel risk a direct attack on its most dangerous enemy? And are we witnessing the start of a much larger war? This is the inside story of the Israel-Iran attack. And what really happened? According to multiple early reports, the attack unfolded in carefully timed waves. Just after midnight, residents across parts of Tehran reported hearing powerful explosions, followed by flashes in the sky consistent with air defense interceptions. Within minutes, Iranian state media confirmed that several locations had been struck, including sites believed to be linked to military infrastructure and weapons development. Analysts say the pattern suggested a coordinated precision operation rather than a single strike. Unidentified drones were reportedly seen over key areas, while long-range missiles or standoff munitions hit targets from outside Iranian airspace. But this combination is typical of modern Israeli deep strike doctrine: overwhelm defenses, disable radar, then hit strategic facilities. Iranian air defense is activated across the capital region, and emergency services rush to multiple impact zones. Videos circulating online showed smoke columns rising from industrial districts and security perimeters being sealed off by authorities. Officials acknowledged damage, but initially downplayed its scale, calling the incident limited. But the timing and depth of the attack told a different story. This wasn't a covert sabotage operation or a proxy clash in Syria. It was a direct strike on Iranian soil, in or near its most sensitive heartland. And within hours, Tehran's leadership signaled that retaliation was not just possible, but inevitable. Within hours of the strikes, Iran's response began to take shape. Senior military officials appeared on state television, declaring that Israel had crossed a red line and would face consequences. Air defense units across Iran were placed on maximum alert, while regional allied forces from Lebanon to Iraq were reportedly mobilized. Then came the retaliation signals. Warning sirens sounded in parts of Israel after aerial threats were detected approaching its airspace. Israeli defense systems activated, pre-intercepting what officials later described as incoming drones and missiles launched from Iranian territory and possibly from the proxy positions across the region. Explosions lit the night sky again, this time over Israeli defensive zones. Iranian leadership framed the response as the beginning of a broader deterrence campaign, not a one-off strike. Statements emphasized that any further Israeli action would trigger heavier retaliation, potentially targeting strategic military and economic sites. The message was clear. Escalation would be met with escalation. This rapid cycle, strike, response, interception, marked a dangerous shift. For decades, Iran and Israel fought through shadows and intermediaries. Now both sides had openly exchanged fire across borders. And once the threshold is crossed, pulling back becomes far harder than pushing forward. To understand why Israel would risk such a direct and dangerous strike, you have to look at the long-standing threat it believes is growing inside Iran. For years, Israeli intelligence has warned that Iran's military and nuclear programs were advancing toward a point that could fundamentally change the balance of power in the Middle East. Israeli leaders have repeatedly stated a red line: Iran must never obtain a nuclear weapon capability. In recent months, analysts noted increasing concern in Israel over reports that Iran had expanded uranium enrichment levels and hardened key facilities against future attacks. From Israel's perspective, waiting longer could mean losing the ability to stop those programs at all. But the motive goes beyond nuclear fears. Israel also views Iran as the central coordinator of a regional network of armed groups, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to militias in Syria and Iraq, all positioned around Israel's borders. Israeli officials argue that Iran's growing missile and drone reach, combined with these proxy forces, is creating what they call a ring of fire strategy aimed at overwhelming Israel in a future conflict. In that context, the strike appears less like a sudden escalation and more like a calculated preventive move. By hitting sensitive infrastructure and signaling reach deep into Iranian territory, Israel may have intended to slow military development, restore deterrence, and show that distance is no protection. But preventive strikes carry a built-in risk. They may delay a threat, yet simultaneously accelerate the very war they were meant to prevent. Now, the biggest question facing the world is simple. Does this stop here, or is this the beginning of a wider war? History suggests moments like this rarely stay contained for long. Both Iran and Israel have now crossed a threshold they avoided for decades: direct, acknowledged attacks on each other's territory. That alone increases the risk of miscalculation, where a single strike causes heavier casualties or hits a critical site, forcing a much larger response. The danger also extends beyond the two countries themselves. Iran's regional allies possess thousands of rockets and drones positioned across multiple borders, while Israel maintains the capability to strike across the Middle East. Any sustained exchange could rapidly spread into Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, or even key shipping routes, pulling global powers into crisis management almost overnight. For now, both sides appear to be balancing retaliation with restraint, signaling strength without triggering full-scale war. But this kind of high-tension standoff is inherently unstable. Each new interception, each new launch, carries the risk that the next one goes further than intended. So the Israel-Iran attack may not mark the start of all-out war, but it has clearly ended the era of shadows between them. The confrontation is now open, visible, and far more dangerous, and the next move from either side could decide whether this remains a clash or becomes a conflict that reshapes the entire Middle East.